Today at Live on Purpose TV, we'll talk about ways to improve self-confidence. Glad you're here. So let's start with a discussion about confidence. What is it? If you have confidence in someone, you trust them. Okay, let's apply that to self-confidence. It means you would trust yourself, right? So trust yourself about what? I think there's a few key components here. Number one, if you trust someone, if you have confidence in someone, you know that they're not going to hurt you. So in applying that to ourselves, do you know that you're not going to hurt yourself? Now, I know that we all make mistakes and that those mistakes end up hurting us. You don't do that intentionally. And it's interesting because I've worked with a lot of people who do self-harm. Honestly, they believe in the moment that it's in their best interest. So check it out. Everything that you do is what you feel in the moment is the right thing to do for you. It's in your best interest at the time. Now, that's going to sound a little funny to some people because you know that you hurt yourself sometimes. But when that happens, you're not thinking, oh, how can I hurt myself? In fact, usually, let's go back to the self-harm thing, for example. People that I've worked with who are cutting themselves, for example, that's a good example. Cutting is an example of pain management. Yeah, they're experiencing such intense emotional pain that they end up inflicting physical pain on themselves. And what does that do? It kicks in the natural painkillers that our body generates and creates, and it numbs the pain. The physical pain actually triggers the release of those chemicals, and it numbs the emotional pain. So what are they doing? In the moment, they're doing what will help them to feel better. Now, it's maladaptive, and I don't want you guys to go out there and say, oh, Dr. Paul says it's okay to cut. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in the moment, even people who are hurting themselves believe at some level that it's in their best interest. Now, as we look into it farther, we can see maybe there's some better ways to do that. So stay on the channel and we'll share some of those ways with you. But notice this in terms of self-confidence. You can trust yourself to not hurt yourself intentionally. The whole thing about doing it accidentally or finding better ways to handle things, that's a whole different discussion. You can trust yourself to act in your own best interest. So that may improve our self-confidence as we focus on that. What's another element of trusting someone? You can trust them to treat you kindly and with respect. Okay, let's apply that to self-confidence. Will you treat yourself a little better? If I treated you the way you treat you, would we still be friends? That's worth looking at, isn't it? How are you treating yourself? It's funny because we'll go through life treating everyone with compassion and respect and forgiveness, and we're just such great people, right? Except for one where we get really demanding and demeaning and judgmental right here at home. Let's start treating ourselves better. The very first video that we launched when we started doing daily videos here at Live on Purpose TV was about how to stay positive no matter what. You might want to review that as you think about how you treat yourself. How are you doing? That's a judgment call. It's an evaluation question. It could always be better. It could always be worse. Let's be really kind and compassionate and positive with ourselves, like we're willing to do with everyone else. That's going to increase our self-confidence because then we can trust ourselves to treat ourselves with compassion and respect and kindness. Now, the third element of confidence that I want to talk about and trust is that we can trust people to do what they say they will do. If someone does that, then you build confidence in them, right? Let's apply that to ourselves. And for that, I've brought the whiteboard out here today to review something that I've shared in some other videos, but it has to do with What motivates people to do what they do? I hear this all the time in my office, or at least this seems to be a common thought process or lament. Why do I do what I do when I know what I know? Have you felt that way before? Yeah, this will explain that so that we can start trusting ourselves to keep our own promises to ourselves. Might that increase our confidence? So the two basic human motivators up here in the top are pleasure and pain. Now, of the two, which one do you think is the more powerful in changing our behavior? Yeah, I'm Mr. Positivity, okay? I wanted to think, oh, it's pleasure. We'll do things, because it increases our joy. Right, whatever. No, it's pain. It's pain. Our mind will do more to avoid pain than it will to seek pleasure. Now, that's important to understand because we've only got two options here. We're either going to do what we say we're going to do, which might represent a change in our regular behavior. Think about it. If you've promised yourself to start exercising, for example, can you trust yourself to do that? Well, that involves a change of your behavior. Now, the other option is that we're not going to change. I can't think of any other options. Can you? So, we're either going to change or we're not. Well, guess what? Whether we change or we don't, we're going to have pleasure and pain either way. Either way. So let that sink in for just a minute as you consider what we just talked about. Now, if pain is the more powerful motivator, then as long as this box, the pain of change, looks greater to you than the pain of not changing, you won't change. Now, rewind that and listen to it again. I'll just say it again. As long as the pain of change looks greater to you than the pain of not changing, you won't change. And you get to have pleasure and pain either way. There's a little psychological hurdle we have to overcome, though, because of the temporal arrival of the pleasure or pain. So go back to the exercise example. What would be the pleasure of making that change? You get to have greater health, right? Along with a lot of other really awesome benefits of making that change. Well, what's the pain of change? Well, it's going to be hard. You're going to have some soreness. There's a cost involved a lot of times, at least of your time and effort. So there's going to be some pain if you change too. Now, what would be the pleasure of not changing? Oh, that's easy because you don't have to do anything hard. And you get to avoid all of the pain that comes when you do make the change. Well, what would be the pain of not changing? Ooh, yeah. You get to have a decrease in your health, which comes along with everything else that goes into that. Maybe even early death, right? So you know that that's coming. Well, here is the hurdle. When do you get to have the pleasure of change? It's later. It's later. Most of it, I mean. Right? You don't get all of the health benefits today because you started exercising. It might take a while to do that. When do you get to have the pain of change? Oh, that's now. Yeah, right up front. When do you get to have the pleasure of not changing? See it? That's right now. You get to be lazy now. You get to indulge now. When do you get to have the pain of not changing? I mean the bulk of it? Yeah, later. You guys, this is the psychological hurdle that we have to overcome. Because honestly, the most important stuff on this whole diagram is here. I mean, yeah, it's hard to make that change, but how hard really? Is it as hard as dying early? No, but you get to have that pain now. And your mind will always see now pain as greater than later pain, even though it's not really. And this is easy, but really it's kind of superficial and phony. Oh, I get to avoid, doing the hard thing. Oh, wow. That's a big benefit to life, right? Wouldn't you really rather have the health? Of course you would. You've got a lot of great reasons for promising yourself that you're going to do what you said you would do. To increase self-confidence, we have to see ourselves keeping our promises to ourselves. And hopefully this will help you to see why that is difficult. Get real about your pain. The really most important stuff to you are in these two boxes. But these two will distract you because it's now. Don't be deceived. As we have these interactions here on the channel, you probably think about other people who would really love this content. I really appreciate that you share these videos with your friends. Thank you.